Proper GIS Consulting. We're based out of Ohio, but we do this kind of work with districts and school divisions all over the United States. Everywhere from 2,000 to 200,000 students, we've helped school districts with this kind of process. It's necessary. We really value an open and transparent process in this. And you know, it does elicit emotion early in the process. But we feel it's better to be open and transparent so you can see things as they're being developed and as they evolve, as opposed to having things be done behind closed doors and you not seeing a map until they get shared with the school board and only a short time for them to approve something. So just know that it's normal and that this is an open and transparent process and you're seeing things in some of the early form. We've worked with divisions. We worked with Richmond Public Schools, Frederick County, Virginia, and other districts across the country. And so we bring to the table expertise and what has and what hasn't worked in school redistricting projects across the country, as well as the technology. The mapping system that we use is GIS, and Geographic Information Systems. And we take a lot of data, we put it into the maps, and then we use that data to develop statistics and information so that we can inform everybody about the impacts of moving an area and what options may look like based on different statistics and information. I'm Matthew Cropper. I'm the president of the company. I have about 20 years experience in doing this, and honored to be working with the school division. I have some history with Henrico and working with Henrico over the past several years and providing some consultation, and proud to be working with you guys in this community. So we have some objectives to follow. And what are the things the why is there a need to do redistricting in this county? We are charged to efficiently use all available space and to plan for future growth. So looking at where the students live now, but also be mindful of where the future development, residential development is going in. There's a lot of large-scale developments that are going in scattered about throughout this county. And a lot of it's clustered in certain parts of the county. And we're looking at that and being mindful of that, and we have data on that. Determine attendance boundaries for the expanded Holiday Elementary School. So Holiday Elementary is in the central part of the county. It's very overcrowded right now. It's doubling in size. And so the doubling of size is going to help accommodate the overcrowded nature of the existing zone. But then it's also going to, you'll see in the options, it's expanding more to help provide relief to some other neighboring schools around that school. For the middle school and high school, we're focused on the increased building capacity for the replacement schools. So Highland Springs is being replaced, that's on the east end, and Tucker High School is also being replaced. And both of them are being expanded, brand new state-of-the-art buildings, and it's a very good opportunity for Henrico County, and those are opening on 2021-22 school year. Same thing with Holiday Elementary School. And our final charge is to look at reducing concentrations of poverty while balancing the neighborhood's concept. And so looking at seeing if there's any ways to try to make things more socioeconomically diverse without sacrificing the neighborhood concept to a certain degree. So looking at trying to see is there some balance there and trying to achieve both of those. Some things, there is some new news that the committee has not looked at that's out there, and I wanted to address these. There is some recent information that was released about the capital improvement plan for the county, and that they are building another elementary school that's going to be located up in the north of Greenwood. It's near the River Mill, the future River Mill subdivision. And you'll see on the maps, when you go back outside, you'll see a red dot on the map with elementary zone maps. That shows you where that new elementary school is going to be. There is also a middle school expansion that is being planned that we are going to be looking at as part of our work. But we don't have all the final details on the location and the size of the size of the elementary school and the location and size of the middle school expansion. But we do expect to have that ready for the committee so that they can focus when they regroup back in December and incorporate some of that in their plans. When you look at the maps tonight, the committee has not seen any, we were not aware of the new school plans. And so that's something that is going to be incorporated into our work. And it's only expected to really impact areas immediately around those areas where the new school is going to be. It's not expected to cause a domino effect that's going to be a ripple through the entire county. There is a second elementary school identified in the capital improvement plan for the west end. That the timing of that has not been identified yet, and so that second elementary school on the west end is not part of this. Not going to be part of this committee's focus. It will not be in their window of looking at making zone changes to account for that. But the new elementary school up near River Mill will be, and the middle school expansion will be. So we have some criteria to follow, and these are rules to follow, and I always orient the committee on these. And basically, at every meeting, and also we'll talk with you guys around the maps about the criteria, but these are the rules to follow when we start evaluating if a zone should move one way or the other. Should we move a line, or where should that line go? Should it go here? Should it go another block over? And the best plan will be one that addresses this criteria as a whole as best as possible. There will be certain elements of the criteria that may be stronger in certain options, and other options, an element of the criteria may be weaker. And so we're still working through this, and I would just encourage you guys as members of the public to provide us input and feedback to the committee, and as you fill out the survey as it relates to the criteria, because that's really what we are focused on and what we are looking at. Every time I have a conversation with a member of the public, or the committee has a conversation with you, I'm thinking in the back of my head, okay, is what they want to do, or what this community's concern is, or their desire, is it adhering better to the criteria, or are we deviating further if we were to do something different? These are to use major roads and natural boundaries whenever feasible to define attendance zones. All reasonable efforts. All reasonable efforts should be made to ensure contiguous geographic zones which minimize the division of clearly identifiable components. So this is okay, guys. Okay, please have respect for the whole group. We understand the range. Okay. So what this component of the criteria says is try to avoid splitting subdivisions. And try not to draw the line down the middle of a residential street and things like that. And so in doing so, in trying and being mindful of where subdivisions are located, and trying not to draw the line down residential areas, and trying to keep communities intact. Now, Braintree is a good example, and I know that they're being vocal, but I was actually, as we continue to receive input, we are aware of their concern, for example, and that would be a good example of parts of the criteria, and that the Braintree subdivision does get split in a couple of these options.
No, it doesn't.
And so, okay. So, other parts of the criteria are all legal and judicial guidelines for maintenance of a unitary school system will be strictly adhered to. So make sure to abide by the law, and we certainly are doing that. Efforts will be made to ensure an efficient system of school bus transportation. So be mindful of where the students are going to school now, but also be mindful of where they're being zoned to in the options. And are we moving them further away than where they're currently going? And be mindful of that. Efforts will be made to establish walk zones and reasonable walking zones where feasible. Provision should be made to ensure the continuity of a child's K-12 progress, and so this basically touches on the issue of grandfathering. And I know that the school division is offering something that's more generous than what we see in a lot of divisions, and that when the boundaries do take effect, that the school division is going to allow grades 5th, 8th, and then also the rising 11th and 12th graders to finish out at their existing school, provided that they get their own transportation to school. So the school division isn't going to transport students. If you're in an area that's impacted, and your students coming into their 5th grade or 8th grade, or the 11th and 12th grade year, your child can stay at your school to finish out, but they have to have their own transportation provided. So that's something that is a gesture that's made by the division to further reduce the impact on students, particularly students that are aging in and finishing their last year or 2 years as it relates to high school. So looking at rezoning a plan over a span of several years would be preferable to try to minimize the need for rezoning over time, and also try not to move communities more than once. We don't want to move communities one time and then the next year move them again. So the timing of the elementary school is something that the new elementary school is something that we're looking at and being mindful. I'm talking with the division as well to make sure that we are doing things as efficiently as possible and certainly not moving communities one place and moving them again. The focus is you don't want the same student to have to be impacted in redistricting and then have that same student that before they're done with their schooling, they get rezoned again at say an elementary school or middle or high school. So it's really focusing on that individual student and making sure that they're not being impacted and shuffled around at more than once. So this is our timeline. You can see we're right in the middle, the meat of the timeline here. We had a public info session at the beginning of the process to tell you guys what's going on and how we're getting into the work. This committee has worked 3 different times through the course of meetings to develop the options that we have for you tonight, the draft options. We've covered a lot of ground in those first 3 meetings. And the maps are still draft. Every committee member will tell you that those maps are draft. Nothing is written in stone. Things are subject to change. And I do highly anticipate that maps will be modified or new maps could be made, depending on the work and the progress of the committee as they continue their work. There will be 3 more times after this, in December, January, February, and then they're going to be regrouping again in March, where we're going to have the same format as this. We're going to invite you back out and say, okay, here are the revised draft maps to share with you. So we have another public engagement session scheduled near closer to the end of the process. And then the committee will review input, finalize a recommendation, which will be presented to the board in April, and then the board is expected to vote in May of next school year. So there's a lot of work to be done. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's a lot of work still to be done. We're working with community-based committees. These are volunteers. They are parents, teachers, professionals, citizens of Henrico County who all volunteer to serve on this committee. And I know that they're doing a thankless job right now in working through this. This is making unpopular decisions and trying to work through this and knowing that there's a lot of resistance as you guys can probably agree. And so I really am proud of this group, both groups, and as they're doing their work. We have a 46-member elementary committee and a 21-person secondary committee. These committee members they applied to serve on this committee. I, myself, and my staff reviewed and evaluated all the applications. We actually mapped out all the committee members so that we could see where they live. The focus was to try to have a committee member that lives in all the different school zones and communities throughout this area. These committee members are not here, they're not sitting around a table, and they're not here around the maps to represent and have a stronghold for their school and sit there and fight for their school. These committee members are here, and they were selected like this so that they could give us perspectives when we're around the table talking about maps of what traffic is like in their area, where they're seeing students walk to school, where are bottlenecks in rush hour traffic and things like that. That's the kind of input that these committee members are bringing. So just because there's not a committee member that doesn't live in your particular neighborhood or subdivision doesn't mean that you're something that we're not listening to you and hearing you out. They are basically a geographically distributed group that comes from all different parts of the county, and they're giving us this feedback. We asked this committee to be open and objective, take off their parent hat when they're at these meetings, and put on their committee member hat. And I'm proud of the committee. They have done a lot of things. There are committee members around the table that are being impacted in this work, but they are focused on providing a plan that's best for all children, not just one student, not just one neighborhood or one school. They have to focus on all the children in Henrico County. And so this group has been doing great work, and they're going to continue to do good work. They're really, this one way to engage the public is to bring a community grassroots group like this together. Members of the public are welcome to come observe committee meetings. The committee meetings are all posted online, so public members can come watch the meetings. They can't participate, but they can sit in the back and they can listen to the conversations that are being had. We have microphones, people are talking, and the committee's working through their work. In addition to that, we have a series of public engagement sessions here to try to make sure that as many people can follow the process as possible. As I said, they worked about halfway through their process. They've met 3 times. They have spent countless hours working on maps, studying things, emailing me between meetings and talking. I know that they're doing a lot of homework, studying these maps, and they are committed and focused on this process and as they work with it. They started with 2 draft options. So we, at the first committee meeting, I brought my staff, we brought 2 draft options 1 and 2, to share with the committee to sort of kickstart the process. The committee also brought a series of sketch maps that you can see. The image over here shows a sample of one of the sketch maps that a committee member drew. It was a black and white map. They brought some maps with them that we gave them homework to do, to look at, see, maybe some concepts to draw on the paper. And we took all that information, we talked about it, and we brought the next series of meetings, we took some of their concepts and started merging them into maps for options. So the committee worked on options, we also started some, and what you see out here, the maps you see, is a combination of some of the work that's been done by us, as well as the work that's been done mostly by these committee members. And so we are still working through the process, but we have a couple of maps to share with you guys tonight. You'll see some statistics back around the maps too, the data tables and things like that. They're posted next to the maps so that you can see some of the data and information that we've been looking at, so that you can look at the data from the same lens that the committee has been working through and looking at this. Can't stress enough that these are draft. Things are still in works in progress and still subject to change, okay? Public has been very engaged. We're very, very happy and proud of you guys for following the process and giving us input. We have, there's a feedback form that's been online that you guys have been providing us input. We've been tracking your comments, trying to study subdivisions and people, where are people concerned, and being able to put those on maps so that we can see who's upset and where and what the rationale. So that really what we have to do is we have to separate the emotion from data and focus on, are the concerns that are being made, are they more based off of emotion and resistance to being moved, or are they based off of more valid concerns as it relates to the criteria? And these are things that we are listening to, but it's not an easy process of trying to keep that separate, and knowing that some people are going to be impacted regardless, but really what we have to do is focus on the statistics and data. And you guys as members of the public have given us a lot of input, and we're tracking this and studying all of your information. The committee at their October meeting, they narrowed down. They had 6 options at that last committee meeting. The 6 options is too many maps to bring forward to the public. It should just be too many. But what the committee did is they narrowed down to 2 options to bring forward to you tonight. Those prior options are still there. They have packed the information about those options, and they can still always go back and look at those if they want to glean components of those maps and things like that to incorporate into and as they continue their work. The committee chose prior options 5 and 6, but they had made changes at that meeting. You can see what we did was a sticker exercise, also called democracy. It basically we give each committee member 2 stickers. We tell them to put a sticker on the 2 options that you feel best meet the objectives and criteria. And you can see the elementary committee, how their stickers landed, and then the secondary group chose options 3 and 5. And this was really what we do is we ask them, well, those who put 2 stickers on option 4, what did you like about that option? We're trying to see what can we take that's positive from other options to make another option better. So this is what we have for you tonight, draft options A and B for elementary, middle, and high school. They are paired together, so the option A, elementary, middle, and high school, are merged together to try to align feeder patterns so that the elementary schools can feed cleanly in the middles, or if they have to split, to make sure it's an equitable split and not a very small split. There may still be some splits out there that need to be resolved, but that's something that we're focused on, still working through that. So you guys have, there's a redistricting webpage on the Henrico Schools page that you guys can go to. You can look at the timeline, you can download any materials that have been shared with the committee at any time. So that's there for you guys. We also have a general feedback form that you guys have been active in giving us input on, and that's really good. but we do have a survey structured for this process. So the most important thing is we want you to fill out the survey at the public information sessions that were last week and also tonight. And that survey is easy to find. If you go there, you should be able to find it. You can fill it out on any phone or any device or tablet, anything with an internet connection. So tonight's format is a gallery walk. We don't have an open microphone where people get in line and ask questions, because look at how many people we have here. We really, this is an effort, a data collection effort, where we're collecting information, data from you, your input, and you're also collecting information from us as we talk with you about the maps. The best way to do this, in our experience, is to have a gallery walk format where you can look at maps. Committee members and myself, staff, will be around the maps, and then you guys can fill out the survey. You'll see that elementary committee members are wearing a yellow lanyard, and then the middle school, high school group are wearing an orange lanyard. And that's a way that you can identify who the committee members are, and the committee members will be scattered around the maps, and you can certainly come up to us and talk to any of us if you'd like, and we'd be happy to talk with you. Although discussions around the maps are very important and beneficial, please just make sure that you share your comments and your feedback on the survey so that every committee member can benefit, and staff and consultants, everybody can benefit from your input, okay? When you look at the maps, the background colors are the options. There's a bold black outline on the map that shows you the current boundary, so you can see how the current boundary differs from the option. So that's how you interpret the maps. You'll also see some black and white dashed outlines on the maps that we call census tracts. And inside those census tracts is a label. That label shows you how many students live in that census tract that goes to their zone school, that live in there and attend their zone school. So you'll see that for elementary, middle, and high school, and those numbers represent the number of elementary school students in the elementary map, middle on the middle, high school on the high school maps, okay? There's an online map as well that I use a lot. It's croppermap.com/Henrico. It's a very useful map. There's a zoom to subdivision feature in there. So if I'm hearing from a subdivision, I go right to that and I zoom to that subdivision and see where is this area, and I toggle on and off the different options. It can be very useful in understanding complex data. And the more you zoom in, you see parcel lines, you see aerial images of what the homes look like, and is there a ravine in between two subdivisions, or is it actually two homes like back to back? That kind of information is the kind of thing that you can see on that map. So that can be a very useful resource for you guys. You'll see the tables as well, and those statistics, like I mentioned, those are all out there posted that accompany the maps, that you can see some of the stats that the committee has been looking at. This online survey started November 7th. The deadline is November 24th. That's a Sunday. Monday morning, we're going to pull that survey down. We're going to close it, and then we'll put a survey report together for the committee, and we will be making that available publicly as well. We're really looking for constructive comments, though. The emotional comments don't help us much. Like my grandparents went to this school, and I went to school, and my kids are going to go to this school, so this is why I need to go. That doesn't help us much at all. What we need to know is information as it relates to those criteria. So I would encourage you to align your feedback as it relates to the criteria.
And safety. Safety is not your criteria. Safety.
So that's the type of feedback that we're looking for, okay? Constructive input. Next steps, the committee is going to review the input from you. We're going to put a survey together and be sharing that with them. Adjustments could be made to these draft options if the suggestions better adhere to the criteria. And I know I made a statement at the last week's meeting that that it's really the quality of the comment that we're looking for, and as it relates to the criteria. There was a couple of examples where a small subdivision, one that I can think of called Mountain Woods. There's maybe 10 homes on that subdivision, but the subdivision is split off from the rest of the subdivision, accidentally going to a different school. So that's something that can drive a change to the map. Where if we do hear from another group that may have a lot of people in it, and if their comments don't bring us closer to adhering to the criteria, we may not be able to make a change to the map. Not to say that if we're hearing from a large volume of one community, that your comments aren't valid and that they may adhere to the criteria and a change may be made. But everybody's voice is just as powerful and just as strong in this process. It's not strength in numbers here, it's more of the quality of the comment and your feedback and the input that's being received. Committee has 4 more meetings scheduled after this public info session. They're meeting on December the 4th for the next committee, and then the 9th for the 2 different subgroups, the elementary and the secondary. And then the school board presentation is scheduled for April 23rd, but we've got a lot of work to do before we get there. And then the final board vote is expected to be May 28th of 2020.
Can you talk about poverty data when the committees will get that?
Okay, so I'm not taking questions, but I will address that one, in that the committee is going to be looking at, when we get into the next round of meetings with the committee, we are going to be looking at updating with the current enrollment information, because we started with 2018-19 enrollment. We have been given the committee information on free reduced lunch at the school level from the VA Department of Education, but we will have, coming into the next meeting series, more detailed information on economic disadvantage data, so that they'll be able to see what is the economic disadvantage percentage currently, and for option A and option B, and then there's also going to be a map from the county for those census tracts that shows the percent of economic disadvantage. So we're giving more information to the committee. They will be looking at that. I would say that the committee leading up to this point has focused mostly on, they've been looking at utilization, they've been looking at impacts, looking at feeder patterns and transportation and the major roads. And then they're also using, like I said, they come from all different parts of the county, so they're also using their local knowledge as it relates to communities and the composition of communities that they know of around their area, as it relates to economics and socioeconomics and things like that. Okay? But there's still more work to be done, and we will be looking at more robust economic disadvantage data starting at their next committee meeting in December. So with that said, we're going to invite you guys out to the maps. The maps should all be posted. There's 4 copies of maps outside in the foyer. There's also an overflow set down the hallway, and we'll be out there to talk to you guys about maps, okay? And the stats. Thank you guys so much.